What's good? What's poppin'? We're gonna get into another episode of some of that deep shh, where we connect them dots. Cause that's the most important thing, boy. Connecting them dots, making everything make sense, you know what I'm saying? So, in this episode, we're gonna get into light codes. Now, I done tried to do this video like 3 or 4 times, and every time I do it, something goes wrong to where the video footage disappears or the sound's not there. Something crazy. So we gonna get into it. I'm fresh out of a meditation, so you know all these lights being on. Speaking of light codes, is it's kind of bothering me, but we're gonna push through it anyways. So light codes. We're gonna start off with natural light, and I ain't talking about the brew. I'm talking about natural light. Main source being the sun, as we all know that the sun is the greatest sustainer of life that we know, because without the sun there is nothing. So at least on this planet, or on this realm, dimensional plane, the sun is the greatest source of all light codes. The sun, which I will do a video, full extensive video on what the sun is or is not, but what the sun is a source of cold. When the sun is not neither hot nor bright, but what the sun does do is that it exudes protons and different other particles that contain information. So if you know anything about the internet and how fiber optics work, the sun is kind of like the source of information. So if you got the internet in your home per se, and it's running through a cable, such as, I'm not going to say no cable companies, but it's running through the cable into your modem, and now you have all this data packets and information at your disposal, at your fingertips, TV, the internet, whatever. Well, the sun works in a similar fashion. Just like the cable has a source of its information, it being a hub or a data center where it sends all the information through fiber optics first, and then it gets to a certain point, and then it gets turned into coaxial cable. That's the thing that you screw in the back of your TV or your cable box or modem. That's coaxial cable. That's the second level of it. You get your information. But remember, fiber optics is fiber that transfers light codes. So they built the whole internet system based off of this thing that I'm trying to explain to you, as the sun being the source of light codes and sending data packets, just like the internet, through its beams or through its flares, coronal mass ejections, things of that nature. So what happens is, we ourselves are made out of light. Pretty much we are crystal, walking, living, breathing crystals. For example, your blood is made out of crystals. If you really look deep at the blood under a fine microscope, you'll see crystals. In fact, your blood comes from your bones and your bone marrow. And if you looked at bone marrow under a fine microscope, you will see that the bone marrow is not fat, it is crystals. So what does this say? This means that your body holds information. So the more natural sun you can get, i.e. this being outside, i.e. sun gazing, which you should be very, very careful on doing that. Know what you're doing before you sun gaze, or they call it eating the sun, because that's how you will manifest light, or not manifest, but ingest light. eating natural foods, vegetables, fruits. These types of foods hold light because they need light to grow. How does a vegetable or fruit plant grow? It needs water, which is more crystals. It needs light, which is light and data and information. Okay, so the light works with the water and the earth. Here's dealing with the elements again, right? To form a process of photosynthesis, which is just a cycle of light, just like us and our melanin. We're cycling the light. So, so natural fruit and natural vegetables, which harnessed the sun energy and harness the light codes that the sun gives off, is another way of intaking more light. Um, and be careful with it. I mean, not be careful, but just be aware that the best fruit or vegetable that you can eat is fresh off of the tree or fresh off of the plant, because it's still alive and the light codes in the fruit or vegetable are still active and still electric. Food is electric. It's a process of electricity. That's why electricity gives you light. The exact same thing. There's electricity in the food just as well as there's electricity in your body. They're kind of like fruits and vegetables are kind of like natural batteries, per se, that hold information. Another thing about this natural light that emanates from the sun is that they change your DNA. They repair your DNA. And one way that it does that is when you have transits of other planets in front or behind the sun, primarily in front of the sun. So if you have Earth right here and you have the sun right here, right? When you get other planets that come across in the middle between the sun shining on Earth, whatever that planet is made out of, or properties or elements of such said planet, it's kind of like mirrors, or or like different types of filters. So when the sun shines on Venus, and then Venus is and the sun is shining on the planet, this swaps out or twists your DNA. Um, the more that you're exposed to the light in that time, it kind of like a Rubik's cube, just starts to format your DNA in a certain type of pattern. And another example of this is the fact that we have astrological characteristics, per se. The fact that a Virgo, no, the fact that a Scorpio is a motherfucking freak. You know what I'm saying? Ready to get busy, for the most part. Scorpios are some fools too, for the most part. Is because of that certain type of light that was all around when Scorpios were born. That energy is very sexual. You see what I'm saying? So the way the planets were aligned when the sun was emanating all of its light patterns and data was data filled with very high sexual energy. You know what I'm saying? So there's another example of how this light thing works. And remember, when you look up into the sky and you see at night, especially, and you see planets or stars or whatever you want to call them, because they're planets, they're not stars. Let's get that shit fucking correct. I mean, there are some stars, but a lot of shit that you're seeing is planets. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is when you look at the night sky, you see all these lights, right? Most of these objects aren't emanating light. For example, what I'm saying is they're reflecting from the sun. So the fact that you can see them is just because the sun is beaming on them and it's reflecting to your eye. You know what I mean? You know, and if you went in space, you wouldn't see nothing. It would be black. But we'll get into that when we get into the sun video. For real, because we'll get into that. But this is how it works. It's like mirrors, because the light's traveling and gaining different qualities when it bounces off the mirror of Venus, and then bounces off the mirror of Pluto or the mirror of Saturn, and then when all these mirrors beam down on Earth, that's that energy. That's what that energy is. You know what I'm saying? Depending on how the planets move. So that's natural light. So basically, the more natural light that you can, I think I was way out of focus, that you can intake, the better. The more natural you'll be, the more healthier you'll be. You'll get less sick. They call it vitamin D. You'll get less sick, and you will pretty much be on a path of awakening if you intake nothing but light. Okay? All right.